Time no longer lamb, part A. 13 is considered an unlucky number in Revelation. 13 is no exception to this belief. The fate of the greatest power the world has ever seen is described in this chapter, and it is not a pretty picture. This chapter changes gears. Chapter 12 dealt with God's people, that is, God's followers, as they trekked through 2,000 years of time after the death of Jesus. Now we get a glimpse of how the devil's bunch fared and what fate awaits them. Chapter 13 describes a new beast. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Revelation 13:11. This new power looms on the distant horizon for many centuries. It has, until now, been protected from all the military strife and religious turmoil of the Eastern Hemisphere. Columbus changed the entire face of civilization in 1492 with his amazing discovery of the Western Hemisphere. Over the course of the next 3 centuries, man's attempt to colonize land for gain continued across the Atlantic to both North and South America. The Catholic religion flourished, particularly in Central and South America. The Anglo-Saxon religion did well in parts of Canada. But in the center of North America, many of the oppressed religions of Europe thrived. These European outcasts found a place of freedom where they could worship as they pleased. Unlimited space was now available, and if two groups would not coexist, one would just up and move to a new region. Now 1,260 years of religious control was suddenly lifted as if by some miracle. But it was no miracle, just another fulfillment of prophecy written centuries before by a servant of God. Control from Europe was limited at best, giving the new settlers a free rein, but the British eventually realized not only the vast importance of this new continent, but they were losing their grip on this vast gold mine of seemingly unlimited resources. Their emphasis was focused to gain full control of the Americas in the late 1700s and early 1800s. But as the time of the end approached, 1798, their attempts to secure the New World failed miserably. As in previous attempts to colonize and control distant lands, the distance itself prevented any lasting success. Of the world-dominating powers, Rome had the most success with a reign of some 600 years. But man is an instinctively independent sort. He enjoys company, but he wants his own space. He wants to control his own destiny. That is the essence of freedom. Our omnipotent God created us with that great gift. He gave us liberty and freedom to choose. He recognized that man may fail and made a provision for each and every one of us. This is the story of Revelation, man's choices and God's provisions. Truly an amazing script filled with tragedy, triumph, and the happiest of endings. As we near the time of the end, we witness the establishment of a new beast. As this beast grows and develops, the transfer of both civil and religious power moves west. As we have seen in the most recent of history, this beast is in the process of obtaining world control, just as those before him did. This is not accomplished by an offensive warlike demeanor, but by a far more sinister method, that of intelligence. The age of weapon development has been a rapid one. For a time, the Soviet Union matched the United States stride for stride. The aftermath of World War II established these two superpowers as heirs to the legacy of Rome and world domination in the 20th century. For a time, about 50 years, the two were on the same rapid pace of development. However, the implementation of socialism in Russia was far in advance of the development of socialist tendencies in the United States of America. Socialist tendencies caused the Russian nation to stagnate economically much earlier than the United States of America. This socialist viewpoint led very quickly to a downfall of the Soviet Union as a world superpower. Left alone at the top is the two-horned beast, depicted by many as the North American bison. Only the United States now has the power and economic might to stay ahead of the world. This will eventually lead to a gradual but continued tightening of its grip on the world. The United States has the intelligence and economic base to stay far ahead in any arms race, and has the exclusive capability to virtually destroy the entire world population in a few minutes. Since 1948, the date of the completion of the Second Woe, an interesting pattern has been developing. Nations are actually trying to get along with each other. The United Nations Charter was conceived and signed because the world finally realized two things. World conquest by use of force was never successful over the long term, and military power is now capable of destroying the population of the planet. The quest for world domination now had to be implemented with the threat of power, not its actual use. Occasional outbreaks will continue to occur. The Gaddafis, Husseins, and terrorists will try to upset the balance, but they will be easily quashed. What we now are left with is a strained, uneasy bond of unity forming under this new beast. The world is slowly coming to depend on this lamb-like beast for economic and military security. Time and again, troubled countries request assistance from this fledgling leader. This country is a mere 200 years old, just a baby compared to the 4,000-year-old nations of the Eastern Hemisphere. This beast had two horns and was described as lamb-like. It did not gain its power by aggression, but by helping the other nations. Its power was used for economic and military assistance in disputes. Its creed was democracy, governed by the people. The founding fathers of this new country felt that this was the only path to ultimate freedom. Let the people choose. This seemed a simple enough foundation to obtain a peaceful existence. But as throughout all history, the price of freedom is high. In fact, it commands the highest price, death. The United States has had to pay that awful price from within and without. Civil strife culminated in the Great Civil War of 1861 to 1865. Union victory was the result of paying that highest price to preserve freedom for all Americans. Jesus paid the supreme price to preserve freedom for all humanity. The two horns symbolize that choice, the two-party system being the result. It is a balanced power with government branches arranged to maintain this delicate perch. In the last century, this beast has been called upon to put down one world aggressor after another. In World War II, it had to protect its own shores to preserve its freedom. The aftermath of the World War II placed the USSR in a strong position to compete for world control on both an economic and military level. But its recent fall from this dizzying race leaves the buffalo alone and lonely at the top. Although not by choice, it has assumed the role of world policeman. Its intelligence is unparalleled in the history of the earth. It has gained such a degree of control that it is now able to dictate and control the production and development of nuclear armament in other countries. This trump card is the key card in the deck. Like it or not, the buffalo is set up for the biggest fall in the history of this world. You can control the world with military might, you can control it economically and religiously, and surprise of all surprises, this is exactly where Revelation leads us next.